Poems, 1962 to 2012, is a collection of poems from Louise Glück, and I think that's the correct pronunciation. Glück was named the 12th Poet Laureate of the United States in 2003, and she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2020, and she's won a million other awards that people outside of this community probably haven't heard of. So yeah, she's a big name, and for good reason. If you're not familiar with Glück's work, I'm a little bit sad for you, but I also get it, because contemporary poetry isn't necessarily hard to find if you go looking for it, but it's not exactly marketed to anyone. You just have to study poetry or hear about something from a friend or subscribe to the New Yorker and pay attention to the poetry, which maybe not many people actually do. And on top of that, not a lot of contemporary poetry is especially accessible. And even on a baseline level, not everyone has been educated in techniques for reading and interpreting poetry, which aren't exactly necessary, but I still think they help a lot. I did study literature and I studied poetry for a while, but I've never felt completely comfortable with poetry at all. For years, I read through the so-called important poems and the important poetry collections, and I didn't really get much out of the work. Yeah, most of the poetry I've ever read, it just didn't really click for me. But I saw this collection in a store a few months back, and I recognized it from college and friends' places, and I figured, okay, I would go ahead and buy it at full price, mind you, which I just about never do because you can get almost any other book used for $5. And in terms of value and enjoyment, this has been one of my best purchases that I can even remember. This collection from Louise Glück, more than anything else I've come across, helped me to understand the appeal and artistry of poetry, which is a weird thing to say because, of course, I already knew about how beautiful and uncomfortable and impactful poetry could be, and I've hung around some poets here and there, so I've kind of gotten a taste of it. But here, I really got it. This collection just threw me across the room in the best way. It's rare that I'll be reading a book with some background noise going on or a show playing in the background and just think, okay, I need to give this book 100% of my attention. And none of this is to say that I have exhausted these poems or that I have completely figured them all out and I completely understand all the symbolism and stuff. No way, not even close. Also, the collection is over 600 pages long. I've really only scratched at the veneer on the majority of these poems, but even that has been more than enough to completely floor me. And this is one of my favorite things in media. I talk about it all the time, where you have high quality work with incredible artistry and craft that is also completely accessible to newcomers. That's the sweet spot for me, and it's kind of shocking to see how Glück's work over the course of a very long career has been able to ride that line consistently. If you want the real depth, it's there. But if you don't want to go diving, you can still get some incredible lines out of it, none of which I'll read out loud here because I don't think I could do them justice. But please, if you want to be just seduced by the medium of poetry all at once, Glück's work is an excellent way to start. This collection specifically is wonderful, but if you want something a bit more portable, I can understand wanting to pick up a specific volume instead of the whole deal. I don't have too much else to share in terms of specifics since I don't want to impose my perspective of the collection on someone else. Certainly not any specific interpretations. I don't want to include that here, but there are lots of mythological references and imagery, as well as a great deal of imagery taken from the natural world, often applied to emotional and mental states and to familial relationships. Insights all over the place, including quite a few that feel decades ahead of their time, at least to me. And it's poetry. I mean, it's short, unless you really want to get into interpretation and reread something many times over. But overall, this was a book that I could pick up anytime, even when I wasn't really in the mood, and just immediately feel impressed and engaged. I should also mention that generally I'm not that big on stories. I'm not especially interested in a standard narrative. If there's no real style to it, I'm not wondering what's going to happen next. I'm more into imagery and ideas most of the time, so I think this collection actually held my attention better than some kind of riveting genre fiction story, some kind of conventional page turner, because it's almost entirely ideas and images removed from their naturally occurring spaces, and that just happens to be something I really, really enjoy. But I've got gotta stop now and get back to another video. I just walk right between them. I live here in the videos. But this absolutely gets a recommendation, even for people out there who think they hate poetry. They probably don't. Maybe start here. And I'm done. Thanks for stopping by.